podcast purely dedicated to cycling from an aesthetic and superficial point of view. I am your host, Alex. Welcome to the first episode of 2022, in which one of our co-hosts, Tony, is unfortunately on the COVID-19 injured list, so he's not present today. Since we are a science-based podcast, we put him in COVID protocols. But the good news is that, first of all, he's doing well, so that's okay. We're happy about that. But the other good news is we have an elite replacement for Tony today in the person of Italian Alex, who is returning to the podcast for the first episode of 2022. So you get double Alex today. You get Alex and Italian Alex. And we also have Warren on the podcast today. Guys, Happy New Year. How's it going?
Good. I was just thinking if my name were Alex, I'd be German Alex, I guess, but I don't know. But let's not dive into that because my name's not Alex. Doesn't matter.
We would have French Alex, Italian Alex, German Alex. Yeah, that's we got two Alexes today. So unfortunately for Tony, he is ill. But Alex, you seem like you're doing well.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I'm doing pretty good. Kept it pretty low key during the holidays, just because of how crazy Omicron's been. So tried to see I saw my family, but I tried to see as few people as possible. So I'm in good health and good spirits.
You do any riding to burn off that Christmas lasagna that your Nona for sure cooked?
I did not. I like the idea of Festive 500 that everyone wants to do, like in spirit, go ahead and do it. But I do not do the Festive 500 myself. I just think it's too much in the holidays. Like, I'm supposed to be spending time with friends and family and seeing people and having the energy to talk to everyone and catch up with everyone. And if I did that much base mileage, like on the trainer or outside, either way, I would just gas myself out and wouldn't be able to enjoy the holidays for what they are. So,
It's almost like it's selfish or something. I don't know.
yeah, exactly. The holidays should be about spending time with everyone else and giving up something to everyone else, and I don't want to make it all about me. So no Festive 500 this year.
I threw the Festive 500 in the Canal last episode, so I am in full agreement with you, Alex. I think we should take the holidays to relax. This year, the holidays, as you mentioned, were a little bit odd as well with the rise of the Omicron variant, so it was about trying to avoid that as well. But I'm good. I actually did some good cross-country skiing during the holidays near my place in the country. There's a lot of good cross-country skiing trails. I like doing a bit of cross-training that way, doing some other cardiovascular sports that work different muscle groups. There potentially could be an episode about the kind of kit that you're wearing for cross-country skiing, but we won't go there. We are cycling fashion week after all. But that's what's going on here for the holidays. Let's get into our first segment. Okay, news. Obviously not that news, not that much in the way of news during the holidays, but as we discussed in the last episode, World Tour kits are starting to slowly trickle in. Teams are releasing them for the 2022 World Tour season, both on the men's side and on the women's side. And so a few more kits were released in the last couple of weeks. Actually, quite an important one, in terms of a very strong World Tour team, which is the Jumbo team, or Jumbo, if you will, team Jumbo Visma, the Dutch team that has Primoz Roglic, Wout van Aert. So they released their 2022 kit. It looks a lot like the previous kit, to be honest. It's a bit of an evolution on the previous kit. The men's and the women's kits are very similar. I'll just describe it very quickly, and then the guys will opine on it. Yellow jersey, as has been the case for them for many years. Black bibs. I guess this year one thing they've done is they have a slightly diagonal black band on the front of the yellow jersey where they put the title sponsors Jumbo Visma. There's some little red armbands, almost in a Rafa kind of way, except it's on both arms. That says Hema, which is another sponsor. So the armbands are red. And the one thing that's, I guess, characteristic of that kit is the Cervelo logo on the shoulders. So the accented E that you find on the rider's shoulders remains very much present. And that's roughly it for the Jumbo Visma kit. Guys, what did you think of it?
I think you've described it pretty well. I believe they did have the diagonal black strap last year. Honestly, the only real thing that stood out to me as a change is how they've got yellow sleeves this year, like full yellow sleeves instead of, I think it was kind of over the shoulder black stripe down the arm, so it looked more like black sleeves last year. So a lot more yellow. And for me as somebody who likes bananas a lot, I'm into this. They look like a couple bananas riding down the road, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It stands out. If you're from North America, maybe you saw the TV show Bananas in Pajamas. This is like bananas in kit.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I actually had to Google the 2021 kit in anticipation of the pod just to see what the difference is because it looked so similar to me. And yeah, I guess the most striking change was just that they like fully yellowed out the kit aside from the red armbands and like the diagonal black stripe where the title sponsor is. So not like a significant change, but just kind of adding on to what Alex and Warren, you guys said, I'm a fan. I just like it because, a solid colored kit with just like a solid stripe across the chest, very timeless. Like you'll never get bored of it or sick of it. In 10 years, 20 years time, it'll still look good. In the era where kits are going with crazy gradients and all kinds of color blocks and everything, ironically, the solid colored kit now is something of a unique display. So definitely a fan and fan of the team. So it has my approval for sure.
So I actually hate that kit. I think you guys are, Warren likes bananas, likes the kit. Alex, you like the sort of classic nature of that kit. I've always really hated the Jumbo kit for a few reasons. So we've been on the record on this podcast that if you own a Cervelo, the number one thing you can do to improve the look of your bike is to black out the Cervelo logo on the bike or to get it repainted by a custom guy or painter who can do that for you. So that's one thing I would recommend to any rider on the Jumbo team is to just put a yellow patch on that accented E on their shoulders to make it even more into a solid kit and to really remove that ugly Cervelo logo. But the other thing as well, I don't really like about that kit is the fact that it's so yellow. And I get, Warren, your bananas argument. I'm not really a banana guy myself, so I can't say that I enjoy that. But it's just you're watching the Tour de France, for example, and if Primoz Roglic is in a yellow jersey, which he will inevitably lose in the last few stages of the Tour, he's climbing in the Alps or the Pyrenees, and he's got like a pack of 6 domestiques around him. Like Wout van Aert is just pulling him, and they're all in yellow, and it's kind of like, what? Who's the leader here? Who's the yellow jersey? Last year, they also had these ugly blue tires on their bikes that were reminiscent of if you owned an old tax, non-smart trainer, you had to put a training tire on it. This is what it was reminding me of. And yeah, I just find, I don't know, maybe they need to come up with a non-yellow kit for the Tour de France just for viewers on TV because it's really bad. And yeah, I get the argument that it's a classic kit, but it's kind of boring at the same time. I can't say that I really like it.
I think the chances are quite likely they'll have a specific tour kit, probably that's maybe more dominantly black or something. Because you're right, it's too much yellow. It would definitely interfere with the leader's jersey, which you said Primoz will lose it. I don't think he'll have it with Pogacar doing what he's doing, but we'll see. Anyway, that's a whole other issue. The one thing I did also want to add quickly, because I know some of our listeners are passionate about the kit makers behind the team kits. So this is made by a company called Agu, A-G-U. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. It's a Dutch company, seemingly. Anyway, I just want to acknowledge that. I don't know anything about them. They may have a long history in Europe, and I'm acknowledging that I don't know that. But I did want to just call that out because I just took a quick look through some of their stuff. They actually make quite a bit of stuff, including non-team stuff. And I don't know, it might be some of it's, there's some mountain bike looking stuff. Maybe not. Never mind.
One thing that kit has going for itself, so I was looking at the release from Team Jumbo-Visma, and they put up a picture of 2 of their female riders on their women's team. And I have to say the fit of the kit, it looks like it's on point. It looks like an excellent fit. Last episode, Tony called out BioRacer, which was the maker of the kit for Ineos. And he was just pointing out that from the pictures that were given to the press, the fit looked awful overall. Like it just looked loose in some parts and just wasn't very pro. But these kits for Jumbo Visma, they actually look like they fit correctly. Okay, so the next one that came out is the Lotto Soudal kit. So the Belgian squad that has Caleb Ewan. So they unveiled their race kit for 2022. So the presenters of the kit were Caleb Ewan and Arnaud Delis. So again, very much an evolution of the Lotto kit there. Predominantly a red jersey. However, what they do have is a white stripe, a fairly large, deep white stripe that goes from the chest to the middle of the abdomen, which basically says Lotto Soudal. So again, the title sponsors there. What you also find on that kit are two very similar to the Jumbo kit in design, tiny armbands on both sides of the sleeves, but these ones are black, so you get a black armband and some kind of white sponsors on the shoulders as well, with black bibs as well, which I thought was nice. They could have gone all red, but I find that the black bibs provide kind of a nice separation there within the colors. So guys, what did you think about Lotto for 2022?
So I'm actually just noticing it as I'm looking at it again, but it in a way, it actually looks a lot like the Jumbo Visma, just with different colors, because the big block across the chest and then the solid color across. I don't mind this, but it's starting to look a bit too like Cofidis to me, I think, just because of the prominent red. Like you mentioned how they have black bibs, and if they did do red bibs, it would be very Cofidis. But I don't know. There's something about their kit last year, which I feel like was an iteration of the kind of version they've had several years with the prominent black. I actually really liked that kit last year. With the way it was put together was really nice. And this year, to me, it's not terrible. The fit looks good. To me, isn't as distinctive as last year's kit. And as an aside, I was just looking up the brand that makes it, which is Vermark Sport, a Belgian kit brand, and some of their like non-team kit looks like borderline Ed Hardy stuff. Not going to get into that. So that alone is just a no-go for me. So unfortunately, it's not working for me this year.
So Warren, I should actually mention the main difference between the 2021 kit and the 2022 kit for Lotto is essentially the colors on the shoulder. So they just went more red this year. Like they went pretty much all red with that white stripe in the middle on which the title sponsors are written. Last year, what they had was it was sort of a three color block jersey, sort of like Neapolitan ice cream, if you will. You had red on the bottom, white in the middle, and black on top on the shoulders and the sleeves. So what they did is they de-emphasized the black this year.
I kind of like this year's kit better than last year's. It's not my favorite team kit, just for the reasons you guys mentioned earlier. I think they basically followed the exact same kit schema as Jumbo Visma, same format and everything. So if you think that kit is boring, you'll come to the same conclusion for this one. But I think that having all red with the white stripe in the middle, that like consistency of color where it's just red and white with two-tone, just is a bit more aesthetically consistent to me. So even though the design could be considered boring, I think just keeping it to two colors rather than black, red, and white just seems a bit more timeless and stylish to me. I just think that personally, find the three-tone kit a bit more dated. It would be reminiscent to me of like a kit from the earlier 2010s rather than a 2022 team kit. And I actually didn't mind it, but then I was reading about the kit announcement on Twitter, and I was reading through the responses to the Lotto Soudal announcement. Someone just responded to the tweet, and I think it was one of the top voted responses, with a picture of the Heinz ketchup bottle, and that became like the top liked response. And now I like can't unsee that image of this as like a ketchup bottle.
So I like that kit design, and I'll explain why. Like I said earlier, I thought that the black bibs were a nice touch because they do break up the different color blocks in the kit that they have. And what I find Lotto does well is that this year, like the all red jersey with the white stripe with the title sponsors on top, I find like it's a nice sort of nod to vintage kits that you would have found in the 60s or the 70s. You look at, for example, Eddie Merckx in the Molteni, this kind of style, and including the black bibs with that, I find is almost like a an actualization of a vintage kit, but done in a modern way. Basically, not trying to just copy an old vintage kit, but really kind of inspiring yourself by how kits were designed back then, but making it relevant to 2022. So again, they didn't reinvent the wheel or anything here. Their kits have barely moved over the last several years, but I do find that this year, this is one of the nice kits in the Pro Peloton. And I agree, Warren, that it does look a little bit Cofidis-y, but the black bibs, again, kind of separate you from Cofidis. If they had gone, red and white bibs, that would have been too Cofidis-y, in my opinion. But the way they've done it, I think was very well done overall. Okay, so moving on to this was not one kit release specifically, but it's a bit of a controversy that we're going to talk about in terms of new kits that came out, and this is actually in the Women's World Tour. So essentially, 4 teams released their kits for 2022, and the controversy is that the kits basically all look the same. And I think there's a more general sort of societal comment to make here, and I'm sure we will make it in the discussion. But let me just kind of run through the controversy. So the teams in question that released their kits that all pretty much look the same are UAE Team ADQ. So that's one team. The other one is Human Powered Health, which is formerly Rally Cycling. There's also Team SD Works. And that last team that released basically the same kit, and then this one's a bit of a mouthful. It's actually Andy Schleck's team, which I didn't know he had a women's team, but Andy Schleck, CPNVST, Emo Losh. So quite the mouthful in terms of team name. And what happened there is that these teams all released their kits for 2022. And the style of the jerseys that they have, the color schemes are sort of think of it of like a Caribbean sunset, or they call it the beachy fade. So beach kind of colors, so fluorescent pink, fluorescent fuchsia, yellow, purple, sort of in orange as well. So kind of in these tones. So again, the sunset kind of color, and it's all a fade pretty much. It all goes from one shoulder to the bottom of the kit, and it all kind of fades out, and they just look the same. And what's going to happen here is once, if we ever get women's racing on TV on a more regular basis and people start watching this, it's going to be very difficult to discern which team is which. And so people started looking to UCI rules, because the UCI has rules in terms of what kits should look like, but there is no rule in the UCI rulebook that says kits should be different enough from each other. What it says is Rule 1.3.027 is that jerseys shall be sufficiently distinct from world champions, UCI Cup, and general classifications leaders and national jerseys to avoid confusion. But there is no rule that says that jerseys should be sufficiently different from each other so that viewers are not confused. So this is what happened. Guys, what did you think of the 4 identical kits in the women's peloton?
I wanted to quickly add to that, because there's another wrinkle in this, which is apparently it hasn't been released yet, but apparently the Women's World Tour leaders jersey uses the same colors and wavy design. Hasn't been released, but that's part of the controversy. And the Andy Schleck team has already their kit was actually rejected by the UCI, but the rest weren't. So the others were all accepted. And Andy Schleck's team, they actually sold off the extraneous kit over Twitter to recoup their costs, but and I think they've already submitted a new design. But that's kind of even the hilarious part, to just show, I don't know, is it indicative of how little the UCI cares about women's cycling, that they just didn't even look at the kits submitted by these teams and think, oh, this matches the World Tour leader jersey that we're going to have for women. They probably don't even know what it looks like, whoever's reviewing these things. They're just like, oh, did they pay her money? Good.
And Warren, did the UCI say why they rejected the Andy Schleck jersey? Because I didn't see like a proper reason for why they rejected it, but what I do know is that the Andy Schleck team had planned on using their 2021 jersey for 2022 as well. So is that the reason why the UCI just, tossed it out the window? Or
yeah, they said they were surprised that their kit was they knocked it back. Like the UCI sent the kit design back and not approving it, even though, as you say, it was really similar to their 2021 jersey. Doesn't actually specify why. Just looking at the article on Cycling Tips about it, doesn't seem to specify why the UCI knocked it back. Maybe it is because it's gonna match the World Tour leader jersey. But then that begs the question of like, why are the other three approved? Because they're all so similar. Like the UAE team is a little like faded, like they dropped the saturation a bit, but like SD Works and Human Powered Health is very close. And the Human Power Health logo is actually, it's like a horizontal version almost of the Specialized logo, which is on the SD Works team. So there's like all sorts of layers here into looking the same. And, I'm inclined to just blame this on the UCI and their lack of caring about women's cycling. Like, that's my takeaway. I don't think any of these designs are necessarily bad. Like, it actually kind of looks like, as I've seen noted, the colors of the Instagram logo. If it were just one, great, but like it's going to be a bit of a mess. Like the UAE team at least also has the white sleeves and a bit of white color there, but like SD Works and Human Powered Health, like the thing that will distinguish SD Works is they're a pretty dominant team, so they'll probably be towards the front. My takeaway from this is UCI still sucks.
Yeah, so a couple of takes from me here. They're not bad designs. That's not the question here. We're not judging the quality of the design. But I do think that when I said there was a bit of a societal comment to be made here, in this age of social media where everything kind of, and globalization, where everything kind of ends up looking the same, it's very ironic and it's very fitting that designers all came up with basically the same kit for, the Women's World Tour. It's very reminiscent of a certain brand coming up with a certain design and then other brands coming up with the same design over and over again. A good one here would be Panama Studios, Universal Colors. This is the World Tour version of that similarity. So obviously I'm not exactly surprised that this happened, although that 4 teams would do it seems a bit extreme. The other comment for me was I actually didn't know the UAE was sponsoring a women's team, which in and of itself, given the state of women's rights in the UAE, is a little bit ironic that they're sponsoring a women's team. But hey, it is what it is. I guess that any sponsor money is welcome at this point.
It's not unlike Patrick Lefevre starting a women's team. Anyway, it's a little odd that they all do that. Maybe it's all one designer and he's just like kind of screwing them all over and not telling them. Who knows? Yeah, the design itself, I'm with you. I actually don't have a problem. If we were a little smarter, we would have had Lily on as well, or our guest host Lee Hansen Gillis on to comment on her thoughts, and maybe we'll still do that. But I know she will have some hot takes on not only the designs but this whole debacle.
Yeah, shout out to Lily. Sorry for not having you on the pod in time. This is really short notice to get me on, so that's why we didn't arrange for her to comment. And secondly, shout out to the Andy Schleck team. Like Warren said, they're auctioning off their jerseys to recoup the money. So if you want to support a women's team in women's cycling, check if those jerseys are still available on eBay or wherever they're being auctioned off before the pod goes live, and see if you want to scoop one up for yourself. I just think that the greatest absurdity of it all for me is that it happened to women's World Tour teams, because I feel like in years past, there's been this common universal complaint about women's teams either always consistently being pink or consistently having feminine imagery like flowers. And so in the one year where multiple teams decided to change their kit designs away from those common tropes, they came back and all came forward with the exact same design. It's like a monkey's paw curling when we wished for better women's kit and they said fine, but then they gave us all the same result.
Okay, so this is the first episode of the year, so we thought we'd do a little discussion about what are our 2022 resolutions in cycling fashion in general. So this is a cycling fashion podcast. We're concerned with the aesthetic aspects of cycling. So obviously, this is what we do here. We're the global style authority when it comes to cycling. Guys, what are your 2022 resolutions on that front?
I have a big New Year's resolution that Warren will definitely like, and it's not a big surprise to anyone that knows me in real life or that I've ridden with before, but 2022 is going to be the year that I race cross for the first time, so super excited to jump into that. I mean, as everyone knows, the community is so fun and inviting, and the racing format is so short but intensive and exhilarating. So I'm really looking forward to dipping my toes in that. I got a bike finally lined up to pick up. I'm not going to make it official yet. I don't want to jinx it on the last minute, but I do have a bike lined up for the winter already to start practicing and riding with, and I'm looking forward to picking up something new as a racing discipline next year.
That does excite me. I always welcome more people that I can yell at after I'm done racing. I mean, well, upgraded categories this year, so I'm no longer early in the morning racing. That's good to hear, Alex. I'm glad. We will welcome another stylish person racing cross because God knows we need it. For me, my resolution, I think, I'm going to keep it fashion focused, which is that I think my resolution for this year will to be buy a white helmet. For many years now, I have been wearing mostly black helmets, and then I also have a matte gray POC one. And part of that is my team. We have a black helmet, so I'm racing. I'll still be wearing my black helmet, but I realized that I have a pair of white shoes. I wear white socks, and I've been wearing it without a white helmet, which is a hard thing to admit on this podcast because my co-host would certainly roast me, and I know a lot of our viewership would. And luckily, no one's ever I don't think there's any photographic proof of that out there. But every time I did that in the past, I did it selectively when I wasn't going to be seen by many people, but I knew it was wrong. Generally, I would keep my black shoes, black socks, black helmet, but I've kind of dabbled a lot because I needed to have some white shoes, and I think it's finally time that I get a white helmet, or maybe my team's helmet sponsor, which is Bolay, will make a white helmet or hook us up with some white helmets this year. That would be nice too, just so I can save some money. But if not, I think I'm going to be buying a white helmet this year.
Yeah, that's good, Warren. I am always team white helmet. It is the only helmet I want to wear. I think you could also make an argument that when it's hot out there in the summer, you're riding, a black helmet just kind of attracts the heat and the sunlight, and a white helmet might be a little bit cooler. I don't know. I've never seen any temperature tests there, but yes, I am always team white shoes, white socks, white helmet, pretty much at all times. Okay, so my 2022 cycling fashion resolution is to be a little bit more daring overall in my choice of kits. So I'd say over the last several years, I've been playing it very conservatively. I've been playing it very safe. I've been building kind of a base of a kit wardrobe, which is pretty much what you would call basics. So solid color jerseys, black bibs, maybe the odd navy bib here and there, white shoes, white socks, as I've said before, white helmet. But I haven't really strayed from the kind of basics that you want to have in your cycling wardrobe. So again, a lot of solid colors, a lot of khaki green, a lot of black, a lot of burgundy, these kinds of colors. And on this podcast, we've been talking a lot about kit makers that have made interesting designs that have actual maybe art on the jersey, or that have designs that are maybe a little bit less timeless, but that are nonetheless interesting in terms of how you look on the bike, and maybe a little bit more eclectic. And one thing I want to do in 2022 is to start to dip my toes in these kinds of kits, and to go where I haven't really been before, because I could see myself getting lazy and just buying the same solid color kit over and over again, which I think would be fine. I would keep them forever. I would always want to wear them, but it just lacks a little edginess in terms of design there.
Tony and I mentioned a friend of ours, Sean, last episode, who we were talking specifically about the mixing and matching of brands. But I also, he's somebody who he inspires me to be more bolder with my kit choice, because I'm very much like you, Alex. I usually kind of keep it fairly classic, but seeing what Sean rolls up in at any ride, it's just he has the classics, but he'll also throw in just turquoise sleeved something or other jersey, bright turquoise, and he makes it work every single time. So I think that's a good resolution, and I share that to a degree. I kind of started dabbling in that towards the end of this year. I got a purple winter jacket, which I think I talked about before, which was a bit new for me, and then some other things, but not that purple's that daring. But yeah, I think that's my my second resolution, in addition to a white helmet, is bolder kit choices.
Okay, next segment into the canal, where we each throw something that we absolutely hate from the world of cycling or cycling fashion into the canal. I'll actually start this week. So my in the canal for this week is twofold, but it's kind of the same thing. So it's people telling us on Instagram that we are not objective in our takes and our reviews on Cycling Fashion Week, and that's definitely in the canal, because if anything, I get that we're the global style authority when it comes to cycling fashion, but cycling fashion takes, people, they are by definition subjective. So if you are telling us that we're not objective, that is an extremely bad take, and you are in the canal. This is a show about takes, about opinions, and they are just that. They are opinions. They are not meant to be objective. The other thing I'm going to throw in the canal this week is equivalent to my first canal item, is people telling us on Instagram that we have a North American bias. Absolutely. We 100% have a North American bias, and we are not really shying away from that. We are a bunch of people that live in North America. We may speak different languages. I speak French. I get by in Italian as well. Yet I am profoundly North American, and I think that we absolutely have a North American bias in terms of how we look at the world from a subjective point of view. So people telling us we have a North American bias, well, first of all, you are correct. We indeed have a North American bias, but you are also in the canal.
I agree. We do obviously have a North American bias. That's where we're from. I also want to know, I used to speak German, but I forgot. I lost it. So clearly couldn't speak it very well. But I do want to say that I want to give a bit of an addendum to your canal, Alex, is we are open to hearing about other things that we don't know about Europe. That's why we have Harry, our European correspondent, to get better perspectives. But inevitably, as people who live in North America, yes, we will have a bit of a bias from there, but we're open to other things, weird European kit brands we haven't heard of. I think specifically there was we received some what I'll call feedback from a slightly angry and aggressive commenter on Instagram who, yeah, didn't understand that an opinions podcast has opinions and hot takes about stuff, which fine, but you don't need to be so use such salty language to let us know that we know we have opinions.
That aggravated commenter also accused us of being amateurs, which we are. I just want to, that person is definitely in the canal, because they're accusing us of three things: of not being objective, of being North American, and of being amateurs. I just want to come clean. We are all three things. And for the record, I'm just a guy recording this as my 1-year-old daughter has a nap at the same time. So that is true amateur stuff. And yeah, it's there. And like Warren says, we bring in North American bias to the table for sure, but we're very interested in learning what's happening around the world. We have the Europe report with Harry. I'm also very interested to hear what's going on in different cycling scenes. I hear Taiwan has an incredible cycling scene as well. So hopefully at some point we can discuss what are some of the kid brands out of Asia that are looking interesting as well.
Yeah, we by all means encourage our listeners to let us know about these things. It's just more, if you're going to come and like swear at us and make vague threats, maybe don't do it that way. You can just be kind of a nice person, but we very much want to know about different cycling fashion happening all over the world.
But bottom line, these accusations that are leveled at us, I plead guilty on all three, but I am sending the accuser deep in the canal. Okay, guys, what do you got in the canal this week?
I'll go next. And mine just stems from spending so much time. I mean, now that it's incredibly cold where I am, so much time on the trainer. And my canal item is related to Zwifting, and it is Zwift kit. I'm throwing the kits in Zwift, any of like the ones you unlock by like leveling up. They're all in the canal. Why are they so bad? The kits that they give you in Zwift generally look like terrible. And the crazy part is it's not like real life where kits need to be produced and designed and then manufactured and shipped and sold. These are graphics which the developers can skin in hours. So if they wanted to produce nice kit, it could be done near instantaneously relative to the production life cycle of real life kit. and yet it all just looks really, really bad. So I am throwing ZwiftKit in the canal, and if anyone from Zwift is listening, which I'm certain they are, please allocate some time and resources into stepping up your style game, because I want to look just as good in the metaverse as I do in real life.
I'm fully with you on this, Alex. I think we've mentioned it offhand a few times, but I don't think Zwift kits have officially been thrown into Canal. So I'm really glad you've done it officially, and now it's true, it's there. Because as French Alex mentioned, we are the authority, so Zwift kits are in there, and it boggles my mind that, to your point, Zwift doesn't have the option of just like a solid color kit and you use that color slider they have to just pick a color and you can just ride around in a plain kit. Why is that not an option? Even like, I get maybe not having that immediately. You want to incentivize people to keep riding the stupid levels and level up so they keep paying money. I get that. That's fine. But the fact that that isn't an option at all is crazy to me. So I myself actually have long been wearing the Radavist kit, which I think is several years old, which is all black and has like the Radavist logo and like the little like tiger, mountain lion. I actually don't remember what animal that is, but anyway, and I see a few other people on Zwift rocking that, and I think they're like me, that as much as I am a fan of that website, it's the real reason I am wearing that kit is it's the closest thing I can get to an all black kit in Zwift. Why is that not a thing, Zwift?
Business idea here. Hear me out. Andy Schleck beachy fade for Zwift. If this one was rejected in real life, perhaps it could be approved in the metaverse. And
Sure,
I think,
I'd wear that.
if the beachy fade appears to be the kit of 2022, bring that to Zwift. I have the navy Wahoo kit in Zwift. It's not particularly exciting, but it's not particularly ugly either. But if you give me that Andy Schleck beachy fade, I will proudly wear it in Zwift.
I do have on Zwift a map kit that I got from, I don't know, doing some official map ride last year, which is fine, but it's not one of Map's better kits. Like I think it was a special limited edition kit, but I even that I'm kind of like, I'd rather just wear this almost plain black kit. But yeah, Alex, I bring in the Andy Schleck kit. I would gladly wear it, or any World Tour team kits. Like, how hard? Maybe it is with all the different sponsor licenses, but
Oh, I'm sure the sponsors would love if people were, put their names up in the metaverse. Like I can only imagine like Movistar would be happy to try to sell you cell phone subscriptions in the metaverse.
for my canal, it's not well, it's kind of cycling related, but it has to do with, as we mentioned at the top, our co-host Tony is him and his wife are both currently laid out with COVID-19. So I'm just gonna throw COVID-19 in the canal. I am so sick of this shit. We're going on almost 2 years of COVID-19 affecting our daily lives. Cycling is more or less, like pro cycling, I mean, is more or less back to normal. Can watch that. Group rides have come back to a certain degree and that kind of thing, depending on where you live. I think if anyone's a cross fan like myself out in certain countries right now where races are happening, they're back to having no spectators, and which is fine. I'm not here to do commentary on restrictions and blah blah blah, but like it's just like fuck again. Like it just feels we're back in mid 2020s again with this happening. So I'm just going to throw COVID-19 in the canal, because now that it's in the canal, it's, case numbers are going to go to zero. Everything, we're all vaccinated. It's all good. So yeah, as soon as this episode comes out, like start telling doctors COVID-19's in the canal. Like, it's done. It's over with. I'm just tired of it.
I think that's scientific, but I think going in the canal actually gives you super immunity against COVID-19 because there's so many bacteria, so many diseases in the canal that once you take a plunge in the canal, you come out, you're immunized basically.
I should drive out to Montreal and take a dip in the Lachine Canal, and then that's the next booster shot. They're draining the Lachine Canal for the booster shots.
Tony should have visibly done that, but no, more
Yeah.
seriously, Warren, I agree with you. For me, the annoying thing too with COVID is the lack of sort of planning ability that you have, the lack of visibility into the future. Do I want to plan a trip to Italy where I would maybe ride bikes in Tuscany for a bit? Do I want to plan to participate in, a Gran Fondo that I like, or, Appalachian Classic, or any ride like that I enjoy? If I buy my entry right now, like, is it actually going to happen? Am I going to be able to travel there easily? It's in the Canal. It's extremely annoying. It's getting tiring. It's getting old, and we all want it to go away.
Just got an email about the lottery for Unbound, and I've been wanting to enter the lottery. I mean, who knows if I'd actually get in it for the classic 200-mile Unbound ride. And even, it's in June, but even, it's the uncertainty. It's just like, even though it's in the States, it's not that far really from Toronto, but like, do I want to get it? And then maybe I have to defer it. My cousin, who's a cyclist, he was supposed to do Unbound in 2020, and he's had to defer it twice. Or, well, it didn't happen in 2020, but he deferred it to next year, and now he's like, am I going to be doing it? It's hard to know, so
closer to us from a materialistic cycling fashion perspective. To the other thing about COVID that's extremely annoying is the associated kind of supply chain disruptions. Can't get parts, can't get a chain, can't get various things. It's just extremely annoying. So COVID-19 is in the Canal.
Easily.
Yeah, I'm over it.
Okay, so that's it for this week. Thank you to Italian Alex for filling in for Tony, who was in COVID protocols. Tony is doing better. We think he'll be back next episode, but we send him our wishes for a prompt recovery. In the meantime, Happy New Year's to all Cycling Fashion Week listeners. We have big plans for the podcast in 2022. We're glad that you're along for the ride, and we will see you soon on another episode of Cycling Fashion Week. Take care.